for IBF light heavyweight champ Clinton Woods, the fight of his life. And when was the last time you heard a fighter admit he was nervous? But Woods also said he's motivated by the fear of coming into Tarver's backyard. He's got a lot of boisterous and vocal support here from England. Al Woods is champion, so he can't be too pleased that number one, he's the underdog, and number two, Tarver's gotten top billing.
You know, he's been pretty stoic about it for the most part, even suggesting he kind of enjoys some of Tarver's verbal skills. But Tarver is trying to rattle him, like with things like that reference we saw to Woods' corner throwing in the towel in his fight with Roy Jones Jr. So believe me, as we look at Clinton Woods, he is not resigned to coming in here to be boxing's version of the Washington Generals. He came in the United States to win.
Worth noting, Woods had surgery on his right elbow after his last fight 7 months ago. A brutal, punishing decision over ex-champ Julio Gonzalez. He's also had surgery on his left elbow, but he says he's pain and injury-free for the first time in a while. Clinton Woods, they call him the Cinderella Man of British boxing. Tonight, he hopes for a fairy tale ending. Challenger gets to enter last. Normally the champion's honor. Tarver has the IBO belt, a fringe title, but he and his people feel he's champion, and they demanded he walk in last. Now, Al, is Tarver fooling himself, or is this some sort of psychological gamesmanship? Is he trying to intimidate Woods?
Yeah, I think it's about 50% trying to spin this as if he is, in fact, the champion, a marketing tool. And it's 50% using this as another opportunity to badger Wood and hope that they can unearth him.
Well, despite criticism of late uneven performances against unproven talent and the notion that he had been avoiding Chad Dawson, Tarver feels he's the best light heavyweight in the world. If he wins tonight and goes on to his dream of unifying the title, what a comeback story for a guy who hasn't beaten a fighter of note since 2005. And with that, let's check the numbers as we go to the tail of the tape. Nearing 40. Tarver is 4 years older than Woods. The height nearly even. Woods has the 2-inch edge in reach. Tarver normally the bigger guy. Only the second time he's weighed less than 174. His lightest 173.5 when he beat Glenn Johnson. And the key unified rules for this world title fight: no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. If an accidental headbutt causes a fight to end within 4 rounds, it's a no decision. After 4 rounds, they go to the scorecards. And if a punch causes a cut and the injured fighter can't continue, he loses by TKO. So here at the St. Pete Times Forum, we're getting ready for Antonio Tarver versus Clinton Woods for the IBF Light Heavyweight Championship. Let's get the official introductions from our ring announcer, the classic Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the St. Pete Times Forum here in Tampa, Florida, for the second of our World Championship featured attractions of the evening, brought to you by Gary Shaw Productions and AT Entertainment in association with Dennis Hobson's Fight Academy and Showtime. This bout coming away is sanctioned by the IBF President Marion Muhammad, Supervisor Al Meyer, the IBO President Ed Levine, Supervisor John Dodano, and the Florida State Boxing Commission Chairman Eduardo La Casa, Vice Chairman Don Bowen, Commissioner Mel Gerardo, and the Executive Director is Tom Malloy. Our physicians at ringside, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, Dr. Adam Brunson, and Dr. Terrace Cockno, and our timekeeper at the bell tonight, James Chittenden. Introducing our 3 judges scoring this bout from ringside, from Doncaster, England, Howard Foster. From Brisbane, Australia, Steve Marshall. And from Miami, Florida, John Rupert. Introducing our third man to the ring, our referee in charge. He hails from Orlando, Florida, Frank Santori. All right, fans, here we go. 12 rounds of boxing for the IBF and IBO Light Heavyweight Championship of the World. And now, ladies and gentlemen in attendance and boxing fans joining us around the world, live from Tampa, it's showtime! First on my right, in the red corner, the IBO champion, wearing black trunks with silver trim, fighting out of and representing Tampa, Florida. He weighed in at 173 3/4 pounds. With a record of 26 wins, 4 losses, he has 19 wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the former WBA, WBC, and IBF champion of the world and the current IBO Light Heavyweight World Champion, introducing the Magic Man, Antonio his opponent across the ring on my left, the IBF World Champion, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing blue trunks with white and red trim. He is fighting out of the Steel City of Sheffield, England. He weighed in at the light heavyweight limit of 175 pounds with a record of 41 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. He has 25 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, making the 5th defense of his title, here is the current and defending IBF Light Heavyweight Champion of the World, introducing the pride of Sheffield, Clinton Once again, a referee in charge, Frank Santori, now to give instructions.
Tarver. Right, Tarver Woods, we're here for the IBO and the IBF Championship of the World. Gentlemen, we've gone over all the instructions. You know what I expect of you. Let's have a clean fight. Both your belts are right where they're supposed to be. Let's keep your blows here or above. Questions? Good luck to you.
Woods fans from England shouted down by the local Tarver fans here in Tampa. It really has been a tempestuous build-up. Tarver said if Woods comes looking for me and puts on the pressure, I'll knock him out. Says he'll not only win, but win in spectacular fashion. Very dismissive of Woods. Even called the champion a hand-picked opponent. Meanwhile, Woods said Tarver is in for a surprise. In fact, he promised a knockout. And there is a tribute to Scott Brooks from Clinton Woods as they are dedicating this fight to his stablemate, sparring partner, and pal who tragically passed away in a car accident while Woods was training for this fight here in Tampa. So both have predicted a knockout. Tarver has never been stopped. The southpaw Tarver, historically a cautious starter, began his last fight sluggishly, said he'll start fast tonight and stay busy. Typically ultra tactical, looks to keep it on the outside. And no question the skills are still there. The right jab, the straight left, still dangerous. But he has fought in spurts of late versus overmatched guys. And he simply hasn't looked like the same guy who beat Roy Jones and Glenn Johnson.
And Clinton Woods will test him, make no mistake about it. Woods will come forward during the course of this fight. Normally has a pretty good work rate, though he has started very slow in this round.
And many feel he's on the downside of his career, Antonio Tarver, but he says, no way, I've got plenty of fight left. Woods 2-0 versus lefties. Not on the same technical level as Tarver, but he is tough with a lot of heart. Woods has to get in Tarver's face, stay there all night. That is the general feeling, the prevailing feeling of how he can beat Tarver.
Now there's a wild right hook by Tarver. He doesn't want to really throw too many of those punches. It's straight up the middle for him. The jab, straight left hand. He's kind of like the old Vince Lombardi Packers. You know, you knew what they were going to run at you, but you still couldn't stop that run. Tarver, his thing is jab, straight left hands, and of course there's the uppercut, which could be the most important punch for Woods if he'll throw it.
Woods pretty brave, but hittable. He's gotten off the canvas twice to win. He feels his toughness will neutralize Tarver's skills, but as he put it, his work rate a massive key. Woods money punched the right, but there's a good uppercut by Tarver.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Woods has used that punch to knock people out. Tarver has a good one, but Tarver's the one that's committed to throwing it. But he better be careful about throwing it from so far out.
Yeah, or else it could be trouble, because Woods has a very good right hand, and Tarver has been vulnerable to the right of late against Bernard Hopkins and Elver Maricki.
Yeah, it's exactly right. The right hand's been what's been landing against him lately, the overhand right.
Woods is perceived as a pressure fighter. Tarver, though, feels he's more of a boxer who jabs his way in. He may be right.
Good round for Antonio Tarver here in round one. Tactically, he's kept the match exactly where he wanted.
Good left hand there by Antonio Tarver, who says he's so confident, so focused, so strong, so fresh, so removed from the so-called Hollywood mentality that if anybody can beat him now, quote, my hat is off to him, unquote.
Antonio Tarver, he's got away with words, doesn't he?
He's really got to open up more.
He's too shy, introverted.
Stop. Time.
Round two. Take a deep breath, baby. Relax. Great. Now look here. We got to. We're putting the pressure on him. We got to do that power jab downstairs. The uppercut is working.
Well, Jimmy Williams, you just heard him say the uppercut's working, and this one worked just fine. Terrific punch by Antonio Tarver. And you see there, as Steve pointed out, Woods was trying to counter with the right hand. Now from above, you'll see the uppercut land by Tarver. Look at Wood. He wants to throw the right, but can't quite get it off. So that's the right punch to try and counter with, but he couldn't get it there. Good shot by Antonio Tarver.
Nice deep breath. If you're unsure, show it. You didn't show him one jab. Close your lips.
A little excess right there, Richard.
You didn't show him one jab. Show him your jab, let your right hand go.
Get out.
Huge incentive for Woods to win here, to beat Tarver. A possible fight with fellow Brit Joe Calzaghe down the road.
Well, this light heavyweight division has a myriad of big names in them, and we saw in our first fight that Glenn Johnson's still one of those names. Certainly Chad Dawson is, after his win and retaining his title. Obviously Joe Calzaghe and Bernard Hopkins a week from now will have an important light heavyweight fight. So there's a lot going on in this division, even if some of the fighters are older.
Round two scheduled for 12. Woods coming on, attacking Dawson. Swings a right but missed.
You know, Tarver is holding a lot when Woods comes on the inside, which is a good tactical move. He just has to be careful that he doesn't do it so much that a point is deducted from him. More tentative beginning by Woods than we would have thought. And if you're going to beat Antonio Tarver these days, you do need to pressure him. Elver Maricki actually did a pretty good job of that in their fight.
Woods said key is to have a high work rate, and he is starting off rather sluggishly. Now he's picking it up a little bit, coming in, attacking Tarver.
Clinton Woods doesn't look focused in this fight. I'm going to tell you right now, he does not look like he is focused on the task at hand. And maybe that'll change, but I believe he needs to really get focused and be sharper with what he's doing and with his punches.
He may be a little in awe, a little nervous. You know, he told us the other day that it takes him a while to get into his comfort zone. And so perhaps that's the case. And Tarver's a slow starter anyway, so maybe he can afford to do that. But he's got to be careful.
Now Woods is going to the body a little bit, and that's an important function for him early in this match. You really want to work that body of Antonio Tarver, because they want to take Tarver in the later rounds and feel like he may fold a little bit.
And like Johnson before, remember, Tarver, no spring chicken, he's 39. Got up to kind of a late start. Hasn't had, relatively many fights, 30 fights in his entire career, 26-4.
Of course, he had a long and distinguished amateur career.
Bronze medalist.
Yeah, bronze medalist, many-time champ. Good right hand by Woods. Woods switching to lefty.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And flicking that right jab.
Come back to the top.
With a warning from Frank Santori.
I hope we don't get a repeat of the last time we were down here. Robin Reed from England came here to fight Jeff Lacey and was just brutalized by the official. Brutalized. I hope that doesn't happen again down here.
Here's Tarver turning it up, Al. Good finish by Antonio Tarver.
Deep rest for me. How do you feel? You're doing it, you're stepping. You don't like it, Clint. You've got to keep stepping. Have a rinse and spit, please. You've got to be a bit... Clint, listen, believe you can do it, and you will, because you're faster than him.
One thing that Clinton Woods does want to do, and this is something he did accomplish a bit in that last round, jabbing his way in, but he did it as a lefty, interestingly enough. Two good jabs, and then when he was inside, he cranked up that left to the body. I haven't seen Clinton Woods really switch much, but he was effective there when he did it.
Touch your hands, touch your face.
Keep coming back.
If you want it, listen, this is the... If you want it, it's there, pal, it's there.
Okay, gotta go.
Come, Shield, come, Shield.
Richard, a little grease there.
Where?
Grease on the head. There we go.
Trainer Cutman Richard Poxon with words of encouragement for Clinton Woods. Round 3.
Lou Del Valle, who was a light heavyweight of note, a left-hander from the United States, worked with them, sparred with them, and to emulate Antonio Tarver. And Tarver sparred with Julio Gonzalez, a very good light heavyweight who twice lost to Clinton Woods, also fought Glenn Johnson, interestingly.
If this is going to be a scintillating fight like the first one, it's really up to Clinton Woods. He's got to force the issue.
I agree with you, Steve. And there he landed a nice right hand. A tactical fight is just what Antonio Tarver wants, where he can peck away, land a shot here and there. You know, Poxon was right. It's there for Clinton Woods. He is able to get off some of those shots and land them. He's got to take some chances.
Yeah, a little tentative to this point.
When he uses the jab coming in, Woods is so much more effective. Instead of coming in that, just in that peekaboo fashion and just walking in.
He punches up in. Tarver, cut him up.
Woods 41-3-1 with 25 KOs. A 13-year pro. His 5th defense of the belt. His 3 losses. Glenn Johnson, Roy Jones, David Starry.
This Clinton Woods is a Clinton Woods that sometimes, not very often, shows up. One that doesn't work hard, doesn't throw a lot of punches, and gets kind of statue-like.
Yeah, he can be mechanical.
Yeah, and when he does that, he's not very effective. And that's what he's doing right now against Antonio Tarver.
At his best when he steps it up.
He's usually fun to watch. Good crowd-pleasing style, a lot of body shots. Jabs, right hands. He's got a great uppercut, but he's not using it.
Yeah, just can't seem to get it going as of yet. There's a good left hand by Tarver.
And Tarver's been pretty precise with his punches, throwing in, sporadic moments, as he usually does. Left hook out there by Woods.
Tarver missing there, and one of the problems in his last fight, he was missing a lot. And against a slower guy, too.
There's some body work by Woods. He really would do himself a favor by going there. And the uppercut keeps landing by Tarver.
Tarver losing his balance. And Woods missing.
The uppercut's there for Clinton Woods. Instead, he's throwing the straight right hands that are going over the head of Tarver.
And particularly could be effective when Tarver leans in.
Exactly. He's got a great uppercut.
Well, let's take a look at what happened last night. On Showbox in a 10-round super middleweight bout, it was a battle between sons of former world champions. In round 6, Buddy McGirt Jr. pressed the action, scored a knockdown, sending Carlos De Leon Jr. to the canvas. But De Leon came back strong in the next round with 2 knockdowns, and the fight was stopped at 120 of round 7, ruled a TKO, McGirt Jr.'s first loss in 19 fights. Then a 10-round junior welterweight fight. Jose Cito Lopez squared off with Edgar Santana. Lopez dropped Santana twice in round 8, but Santana fought back and won rounds 9 and 10 decisively to gain a majority decision. Santana improved to 24-3 with 15 KOs. An exciting night of boxing last night in Miami on Showbox.
Boy, another great Showbox show, and they've had so many of those over the last year or so, really even upping the ante on that series.
And we've had a very exciting night here up to this point. A very controversial, disputed first fight won by Chad Dawson over Glenn Johnson. A heated battle, gripping action.
So exciting, so well fought, and you know, now these two hoping that they can up the pace a little bit here as this fight continues on. Now we mentioned this is Woods' only his second fight here in the United States, second important fight out of England, and against Roy Jones Jr. Now it's a misnomer to think he didn't fight well early in that fight. He really did. Jones fought one of the best fights he had fought in that period. But in this fight, if he was fighting the way he fought against Jones right now, trust me, he'd be winning, Clinton Woods.
And Woods said this is his biggest fight, even though the Jones fight was huge, because now he's champion.
There's the jab of Woods. Again, you can't emphasize enough how much he needs to throw that punch. Tarver has been very economical with his punches, but fairly accurate, and that's why he's winning all these rounds.
He's flicking that right jab. The attack by Woods.
And every time Woods that's good body work. Every time Woods gets a little closer, Tarver tries to grab him and hold him and buy some time.
Straight left hand by Tarver sends Woods back. And a jab followed by a left hand by Woods, but not a lot of steam behind it.
If I was Clinton Woods, I'd switch to lefty. He was effective with it. It would throw Tarver off, and I think he can make something happen.
That straight left is really beginning to find a home now for Tarver. It's getting through the guard. Now a flurry by Tarver. Tarver, as usual, picking his spots. But that's Tarver. He fights in spurts, and you know, he'll coast for a couple of minutes and then try to steal the round.
And he did that when he was younger.
Yes, in his prime.
He's certainly going to do it at 39.
Absolutely.
There's the jab again by Woods. Richard Poxon has to be frustrated in Woods' corner because there are punches that are there for Woods if he chooses to throw them. It's not to say that it's easy to land. It's easy to say outside the ring, but clearly he's not using all of his arsenal in there.
Tarver 4 years older at 39.
This started out as a closer round, but Tarver probably more accurate with his punches through the second half of the round, may have won it.
Final seconds of round 4. You hear a few boo birds.
Stop. Time.
Another interested spectator. We saw her on the feature earlier, the lovely Denise Tarver.
Met her in my hometown, Las Vegas, did Antonio Tarver. And she had to be happy with what her husband did here, throwing the jab and the straight left hand. And again, that's his signature combination. Now, Woods is a good body puncher when he decides to go downstairs, and he needs to do a lot more of this early in the fight. There was a nice right hand down there, and right away, see Tarver hold on. Maybe he made Tarver wince there. That would be a great place for Woods to direct his attack. And, you know, at some point, if Tarver keeps grabbing and clutching like that, you have to wonder if Frank Santori would consider warning him or even taking a point away. Tarver's done a lot of that.
You know, Al, we want to send our best wishes to ring announcer Michael Buffer. Very happy to report he had successful surgery for throat cancer and is expected to be back in action next week.
We wish him the absolute best. I've known Michael for, gosh, 25, 26 years. We started together in the old ESPN series, and we wish him the best.
Our thoughts are with you, Michael. Round 5 scheduled for 12 for the IBF Light Heavyweight Championship, held by Clinton Woods in the blue with the white trim. Antonio Tarver, who has had 3 title belts on 3 different occasions, in the black with the white piping.
You know, what's making this fight look slower yet is what preceded it.
Here's your press row scoring through 4. Eddie Daniels from the Tampa Tribune, Martin Rogers, Yahoo Sports, Patrick Sheehan, The Sun in the UK. 2 out of 3 have Tarver, the other even.
Apparently Eddie Daniels and I exchanged notes earlier tonight, because I am there with him again on this one. Nice uppercut by Woods there a moment ago. I agree with Eddie on this one.
Here's an uppercut by Tarver.
Break. Let him go. Nah, don't punch. Don't punch. Break.
Crowd continues to boo, and once again, a tough act to follow after the fiery action we saw in the opener. You're going to have to go a long way to match or top that one.
And I think what's also, and you know, it's funny, we have to remind ourselves,
don't
Clinton
push
Woods,
off. You can't hold him with your right hand. Don't post him up.
Frank Santori with that warning to Tarver for using his right hand inappropriately. You know, we have to remember that Clinton Woods fought Glenn Johnson 3 times, and even though a lot of people think Johnson won all 3, they were wars. So Woods is capable of that kind of action. And for Antonio Tarver, we know he's capable of good things. It's just these 2 fighters right now not making it happen.
Woods has to get in there and just mess it up and get ugly. He just received a right hand to the temple, did Woods. The left temple area. Good shot by Tarver. Yeah, he's been in a lot of tough, grueling fights. He comes off of a punishing fight. Good left hand there that stung Woods in the head.
I think the difference also is the hand speed in the first fight and this one. These fighters fighting at a much slower pace in terms of even how their punches are delivered. But Antonio Tarver having himself a very good 5th round.
Yeah, he's the boss here, Al. Unless Woods can do something here to turn it.
Clinton Woods needs to throw some punches. He is just very timid in terms of what he's throwing.
Extremely tentative.
And no jabs. If he would just jab his way in, it would make all the difference in the world, but he's not.
He's just holding back. And that hand speed of Tarver may be a reason why.
Punches up, Tarver. Punches up. Break. Stop. Break. Time.
Well, Clinton Woods' wife, Natalia, having trouble looking at this. Her head was down during the round, and she is wrestling with it. She just couldn't bear to look.
Well, it's a rough outing for her husband right now.
You're not trying. You're not throwing. You're not fucking show him. Tell him. Throw your punches at him. Stop watching him. He's tossing it off. Trying to nick it. Breathe in. Breathe in. Give me a drink. You've got to go. You've got to let him go. Overhand right, big right hand, step into his chest and work. Okay. Don't get away, Clint, because you don't have to. It's there for you. Even 6 rounds.
Hang on. Look here. Sit down on your punch a little bit. Throw your punch much more straighter. Lock in. Okay?
Delightful guy, boxing life for 80-year young Jimmy Williams.
Great guy. Great guy.
Over 50 years in the sport. He's the beaut. How about the riot act in the Woods corner?
Well, you know, that's appropriate, you know, because he's just got Richard Poxon telling him you've got to start throwing punches. And that's the long and short of it. There, look, he does it, and he lands something.
To this point, he's just giving it away.
Yeah, just jab your way in. Throw that jab and bang away. You got to try.
He's coming forward now, but he's got to unleash. And he is. The man with the red gloves trying to get it together here. Clinton Woods, he's the champion.
And here's one way of looking at it. Elvin Mariki, who's a good grade B fighter, good fighter who stepped up his game against Antonio Tarver and gave a very, very good effort. But Clinton Woods is an IBF champion, so he should be performing at least as well as Elvin Mariki did against Antonio Tarver, and he's not.
Tarver continues to have his way, landing with the left hand to the chin. Woods down 2 times in his career, 45 fights. There's a nice right hand there by Tarver. And then digging to the body with the left. He's just wailing away in complete control.
You know, when Woods does bother to throw that jab, every time he walks in behind it and he can throw something. But when he doesn't, there's nothing going on. So he's allowing Tarver to do anything he wants. And Tarver's being pretty accurate with his punches and showing a good variety of punches.
Disappointing effort here by Clinton Woods. Oh, there's a big left hand that sends Woods back. Fortunately, Woods was sort of going back at the time. And there's another massive left hand by Antonio Tarver. That one was much harder than the first one. That second shot really nailed Woods. Woods, as we said earlier, is very hittable. Pretty good chin. He's got heart, we know that, but he's got to start showing some action here offensively.
There's a good left hook downstairs. And Antonio Tarver is also showing him a lot of movement.
Right,
so let's give Tarver credit for that. In addition, you know, he's not known for his movement, Antonio Tarver. It's not like he's that nimble on his feet, but he's showing a lot of good lateral movement. He's also doing a great job of slipping punches when Woods throws them.
One of his lightest weights ever, and the last time he was this light, he beat Glenn Johnson. Tarver in command.
Time.
Time. Big smile. You're going to get to it.
Listen, don't matter if you get to him or not, if you're not going to throw punches. Listen. Deep breath. Deep breath.
Don't need that for yourself.
6 rounds left. Listen, you've got to pull it out now. Already, you've got to go and pull it out. Deep breath.
Antonio Tarver landed some very, very good punches in that last round. Now, he's been landing the straight left hand. Clinton Woods acknowledging it, but I'll tell you what, the Tarver left has been a big weapon, both as a straight left hand and also as an uppercut.
Back in the dressing room, WBC light heavyweight champion Chad Dawson watching the action, coming off the controversial victory over Glenn Johnson earlier tonight.
And he fought brilliantly in that fight, as did Glenn Johnson, we might add. So he should be proud of himself, as should Glenn Johnson. It was a tremendous effort by both of them.
Back to the action here.
Over
round
here,
7.
over here. Get this ice.
Too much ice in the corner of Clinton Woods, so they have to do some housekeeping.
Watch the ice, gentlemen. Let's keep
You
it
know, the
off
last
ring.
time Tarver fought here at the St. Pete Times Forum, he looked good. It was the fight before the Bernard Hopkins travesty. He outpointed Roy Jones in the rubber match of their trilogy, so he likes this place.
A big crowd here on hand for that one. By the way, Glenn Johnson had a 23-0 record in Florida before he lost that fight to Chad Dawson.
Well, here's Clinton Woods on the surge.
That's what he needs to do.
Don't grab the rope, Woods.
Halfway through the second part of our doubleheader, and there's press row scoring through 6. They all have it for the hometown product, Antonio Tarver.
And I agree with Eddie Daniels. I have it a shutout for Antonio Tarver at this point. You know, the interesting thing is, even while Tarver continues to build up points and this fight kind of lumbers along, the intrigue here, if there is any, is there is still an opportunity for Clinton Woods to land something of note. And, you know, at this juncture in Antonio Tarver's career, we don't know how he'll react at a certain point to those kind of punches. But Clinton Woods has got to unload something. And Woods is making a mistake of right hand downstairs. See, that's where we saw him make Tarver wince. The body would be a great place for Tarver to go. He's a good body puncher.
Tarver scoring. Boy, Woods has just been the catcher. And you used the quintessential word a moment ago, lumbering along. The crowd growing impatient. Again, particularly after the tremendous action of the first fight. No comparison. Well, it's supposed to be, Al, a showcase of 4 of the best light heavyweights. We certainly had exquisite action in the first fight, but different story here, particularly with Woods.
It's been a slow pace, but again, Antonio Tarver, as he has normally in his career, doing what he needs to do to put a W on the column, and that's what he's doing.
And I'll give Tarver credit. He's trying to pick up the action there in that last round. Well, the question tonight, who impressed you the most tonight? We invite you to vote later. For Dawson, text 1. For Johnson, text 2. For Tarver, text 3. And for Woods, text 4. You already got a pretty good shake of it in the first fight between Dawson and Johnson. And keep watching.
And I think the key here is what we're looking for is who impressed you. So we saw 2 fighters fight a terrific fight. And we're not saying who won or who lost, but who impressed you, who has shown you they should be a member of the elite in the light heavyweight division.
Chest is out, it's too wide.
Nice and relaxed. Nice and relaxed.
Okay. You got the mouthpiece, right? I got it. Yeah, it's already in the mouth. Take the towel off of here.
Round 8. Scheduled for 12 for the IBF Light Heavyweight Championship. Antonio Tarver in the black trying to recapture a title, a world title. Clint Woods in the blue is the champion.
Now this is intriguing. Antonio Tarver came out as a righty. Now he's back to lefty. After he controlled this fight, now that's what Tarver doesn't want to do, and that's what Woods does want to do. He threw a combination. Good for you, Clinton.
Woods way behind. And he has really dug himself a deep hole.
Yeah, he's at the point in this fight where, you know, he needs knockdowns or knockouts. Certainly some knockdowns would be of import to him.
Tarver's been down twice versus Bernard Hopkins in the first fight with Eric Harding. The only fights he's really been roughed up. He's not being roughed up here by Woods.
One of the big mistakes that Clinton Woods is making is I think Tarver's susceptible if he would go to the body. And he's a good body puncher, Clinton Woods. He is just not doing it.
He just hasn't shown up.
Clinton Woods will really regret, oh, there it is, that great right downstairs. He's going to regret the fact that, you know, he's had such a stale performance here tonight. Again, on a stage that he needed a good performance. And unless he can really turn it around there in his last rounds.
And now he called this, he proclaimed this the most important fight of his career.
And they felt they were well prepared for this fight. He felt he had good sparring. He felt he was really ready for this.
He even worked with Dawson's amateur trainer, Lou Harris, down in Orlando to try to get some extra tips of a guy who knows Dawson very well, or Tarver very well.
Woods has been marginally more active in this round, but not much more active.
And you hear the booing from the crowd.
You know, part of this is effort and part of it is strategic. There are certain things that if he did them would lead to other things. He's not doing them, like jabbing his way in. That leads you to other punches. Instead, he's coming in and just bobbing and weaving and doing nothing. But that's what he needs to do, rip punches. And he's having his best round in the fight. Whether he's winning it remains to be seen, but certainly the most active he's been.
Woods holding Tarver behind the head, getting the warning from Frank Santori.
And again, there's some of that body work. That should have started rounds ago for Clinton Woods, but it's still not too late if he committed himself to that body work.
Well, we have something very special for you fight fans coming up in May. They're back at it again.
The Vasquez-Marquez trilogy was an epic battle for the ages.
Unbelievable action.
It left the critics raving and the fans spellbound.
Vasquez down for the first time in the trilogy. Back comes Marquez with a right hand. Oh, my goodness, what a round. Marquez is hurt. Vasquez continues to hammer away.
Experience all the action and excitement again.
And the fight is over.
Vasquez-Marquez, the trilogy, May 3rd.
I can't get enough of that. It's great, isn't it?
It was extraordinary, and it'll be great to take a look
Relive
back at it with, putting it in perspective and watching the great action.
It was just a privilege to be on hand for that, for all three fights, and it's important when Jack Nicholson comes out.
That's a tip-off, yeah.
Probably no Laker game that night. Round 9, scheduled for 12.
Antonio Tarver told us before that keeping this fight in the center of the ring was important, not being on the ropes. And he has done that for the most part throughout this match.
Pretty good left hook there by Clinton Woods, but just not enough of it. Boy, he said he had to get in Tarver's face, have a high work rate, pour it on, attack, go to the body, do whatever he can and make every minute count, but it's just not there for Woods.
For the life of me, I can't figure out why Clinton Woods hasn't tried one uppercut when Tarver leans in. We saw him knock out Jason Delisle with that punch. We saw all kinds of clips against Johnson and other people in which he threw it. It's there for him when he wants to throw. Now, there's the good body work by Woods. Now he's going to town a little bit. Let's see how Tarver reacts to this. Another good body shot by Woods. Where was this early in the fight?
Well, he's got 4 rounds to go here, 3+ rounds, and according to Press Row, Woods can still steal this fight by winning these final 4.
Wow.
How do you like that?
Good left hook. I disagree with that last, but I'm just differ a little from Eddie Daniels. I've got a 69-64 for Tarver.
Can we see a dramatic turnaround here by Clinton Woods?
He's going after it now, and he's doing well in this round as he did for parts of the last round.
You hear the Woods fans in the background, the very vocal fans from England.
The body work's making a difference for Clinton Woods. I think it's having a little impact on Antonio Tarver. How much, we don't know.
I asked Clinton, you got a lot of fans coming here? He said, yeah, I got a big family.
See, there's the body work, and now a little short right hand, but Tarver ripping off the ropes, but he doesn't want to be on those ropes. Good round for Clinton Woods for the most part.
Got to be careful. He's trying to end it on one punch.
And he could walk into something.
Absolutely, against this guy.
Now, see there, Tarver was right there for that uppercut. And, it would be one thing if Woods didn't have that punch, but it's a key part of his arsenal. He just won't throw it.
Good straight left by Tarver. You're not going to see big flurries by Tarver. It's usually going to be one at a time.
Very low punch a moment ago by Woods. Antonio Tarver might be stealing this round back again because he's had some good flurries and combos and still landing that uppercut very effectively. One of the other mistakes Woods is making in this fight is he's relying on his left hook to the head. That's not a big power punch for him.
Well, the knock on him was that he didn't throw the left enough. But he's not throwing the left or the right enough.
Yeah, the jab would be important, that's for sure. Antonio Tarver throwing those combinations and several of those punches getting in. Counter left hook by Woods, but Tarver throwing good hands there. And, for the most part, Antonio Tarver's been really accurate with his punches in this fight.
Let every one of your shots go. You've got to blink. Listen, it's not going to be ours if you don't do it. Come on. Don't wait. Don't wait now. Give it to. Forget them bruises, they'll be all right tomorrow. It starts this going to hurt. In here we're going to hurt. Come on.
Have a breather.
Don't let him. Delete that. Okay, so I got to leave it. Come shield.
Get closer.
More cheerleading tactics
Make him fight all the time.
than anything else in the Woods corner.
Well, they have to get him to throw punches, and they're trying to do that. But, of course, there is also the specific kind of punches for him to throw. And some of his, not only has he been inactive, but some of his choices of tactics have not been as great as they might. Tarver, again, a right-hander. That's interesting. I wonder if this will give Woods an opportunity to do something different.
Tarver remains orthodox. He just feels that he's so in control of the situation, probably feels he can do anything right now.
Here's the jab of Woods, and he's more emboldened to throw that punch when Tarver's a righty.
Tarver also probably feels he's taken Woods' best shot, and it hasn't been a problem. And he stays right-handed. No, if you're just tuning in, there's nothing wrong with your TV.
You know, Tarver's son, Antonio Jr., a 19-year-old who is a terrific basketball player, led his team to the state finals here in Florida, now playing at Daytona Beach Community College. The apple of his eye, and Antonio is very proud of him.
Shooting guard.
Exactly. Right now, Woods, again, doing some really good body work, but it's come so late in this fight, you wonder if it's going to have the impact it needs to have.
Nice right hand off the top of Woods' head by Tarver. We've seen some pretty good combinations by Tarver in this fight.
Yeah, he has, and now even turning to righty, he's done some good work. There's no question. He's, you know, and this so typifies Tarver. He does what he needs to do to win, and for the most part, he's done that tonight.
There's the uppercut on the inside by Woods, turning it up, getting the crowd into it. But it's short-lived.
Probably a round that Woods might be winning, but, you know, how much impact will it have in a fight in which he's so far behind?
Yeah, we're probably in the knockdown, knockout realm right now as far as Woods is concerned, if he wants to dramatically pull it out. Final seconds of round 10.
Use your shoulder, Tarver.
Look out. Tarver stumbled. Woods missing. Let's get it over to Karen Bryant.
All right, thank you very much, Steve. I'm here with Chad Dawson. Now, Chad, what do you make of the fight so far tonight, the one you're watching right now?
It's aggressive. Clint was fighting a good fight, but like Tarver's doing the same thing I did tonight, you know, try to use the skills, boxing skills, keep him at bay. It looks like he's doing a good job at it.
If you were in there with Tarver, what would you do differently?
I would definitely pressure more. I throw a lot more punches. You know, Tarver leaves himself open a lot. You know, it's a lot of things that we could capitalize off.
What do you make of Clinton's performance, though? It seems to me that he's got a lot more to lose, and I'm not sure. Do you think he's being aggressive enough?
No, he's not. It's not like he's not willing to take chances. You know, like I said, Tarver's fighting a pretty good offensive fight. You know, he's trying to get on the inside, but you know, Tarver's keeping him at bay. You know, and catching it with little shots and doing just enough to win the round. So I mean, like I said, you know, he's doing the same thing I did tonight.
Right. Now, well, this definitely was a showcase for the light heavyweights tonight. Do you think that you made a strong case for yourself?
Oh, definitely. I definitely think, you know, Glenn Johnson's a great fighter, you know. He did exactly what we expected him to do, come straight forward, and he did that, you know, and we were prepared for it.
All right, well, enjoy the rest of the fight, and once again, congratulations. Steve.
All right, Karen, the fans reacting to Chad Dawson on the big screen here. The cascade of booing. I mean, you know, he controversially beat their home state favorite, Glenn Johnson.
And let's be honest, Glenn Johnson, a 39-year-old, clearly people are going to have a soft spot in their heart for him, and he did fight very well, so you can kind of understand the reaction here. And I will say, I think part of it is due to the fact that people thought the judging was a little more, the variance in scores was a little wider than it should have been. Woods able to land now an occasional right hand and get some shots in, but they're not hard enough to really hurt Tarver. And now Woods throwing some combinations, which he didn't at all early in this fight. He's getting a little bit of a rhythm going, but not much.
Every time Woods does something, the crowd goes nuts. Press row scoring after 10 rounds. One has Tarver way up, one has it even, one has Woods up by 1.
Wow, that's interesting. Well,
that's Patrick Sheehan from the UK paper, The Sun.
Interesting. Yeah, I find that one tough to accept.
Oh, me too. Woods' corner does not seem to agree with our press row judges. They believe he's way behind.
I mean, you know, I think he's won a couple of rounds, Clinton Woods, but not in a position where he would be challenging for this fight at this juncture.
Oh, straight left by Tarver that sent Woods back. That's the best punch of the night. Woods signaling as if to say it didn't hurt him. Woods' face starting to show the effects. He's got a fat upper lip. Woods trying, it seems to turn him up. It seems to have been a wake-up call for Clinton Woods.
Maybe he thinks Tarver punched himself out in that or whatever, but in any case, he is coming out and trying hard, that's for sure.
Well, he's running out of time, and he hurries the attack.
A lot of his punches blocked and slipped by Tarver, so not too much getting done for Woods there.
Woods' upper lip very swollen. As we head for the bell.
For Antonio Tarver, his game plan is always pretty much the same, and that is do anything you can to land the straight left hand. And in this case, there's the right hook. We saw it in the keys. Many times, instead of a jab, he throws a right hook, which gets a fighter's attention. You see he'll throw the right hook. It's short, but the left hand comes right behind it. That's exactly the replay we showed in the keys when he fought Danny Santiago. He just redid it all over again. So you can see how this is effective for Antonio Tarver.
3 minutes, team. You know you let it all hang out. Don't procrastinate. Let's fight 3 minute rounds.
And they touch gloves for the 12th and final round. A long night here in Tampa.
I'll quote myself before this fight. I said, stylistically, I thought it was sure to produce fireworks. Okay, I was wrong.
Nobody's perfect.
Can't get them all right.
Well, you got it in the first fight.
There you go. Tarver's going after him to create some fireworks right now. And you know, this round could be about marketing for Antonio Tarver, because he's, you know, we believe at least that he has controlled this fight and is probably in a position to win it. But I think now he'd like to make a point.
He's trying to make a point right here. Right on Woods' face.
And inevitably,
good left hand by Tarver.
We're going to ask ourselves, based upon this performance, where does Antonio Tarver fit in? Part of it was Woods not doing well, but let's give Antonio Tarver some credit. He's landed some important punches. He's dominated Clinton Woods throughout most of this fight, and that's all to the good for him.
Tarver looking to finish in emphatic fashion. Remember, he's 39 like Johnson. He's almost 40, Tarver.
And one of the things you have to like about Tarver is we're here in round 12 and he's finishing strong.
Exactly.
Granted, this fight wasn't fought at a wild pace, but nevertheless, he's here in round 12 doing a very, very good job and landing some excellent combinations.
Tough to match the feverish pace of the first fight, but I'm convinced that if Woods had brought his A game to the table here tonight, obviously we would have had a much better fight.
Absolutely. Doesn't to say he would have won, but we would have had a more competitive match.
Well, the other side of the coin is that maybe it was because of Antonio Tarver that he was prevented from having his A game. Maybe he was just overmatched by the former champion who is trying to get another title. Good left hand there, a stinging left on the head of Clinton Woods.
And you know what Tarver did do very well in this fight? His defense ended up being very, very good because he slipped a lot of punches, he clutched, he grabbed, he blocked punches when Woods did throw them. So you have to give him credit for that as well.
Certainly the best performance by Antonio Tarver in a while, in years, since before Bernard Hopkins. And the crowd chanting USA. Getting behind Tarver. This is it, final seconds of the final round.
Stop, break, come on, step back, take a step back.
Denise Tarver enjoying it, and the hometown fans here in Tampa getting behind Antonio Tarver.
The only thing better for Tarver than winning, period, is winning in the state of Florida, where, of course, this is his home, and he was very happy to be fighting here, and he put his stamp on this fight. It was so vintage Tarver, wasn't it?
Yep.
He showed brilliance in spots, did everything he needed to win, and got the W.
Born and raised in Orlando, living here in Tampa since 1996.
And the left hand, which landed so often in this match, especially round 12, was a big factor. The jab setting up the left hand. He feints to the body and then throws that hard straight left that lands to the head of Clinton Woods.
So Antonio Tarver now closer to his proclamation of unifying the light heavyweight title.
He's got one down.
Yep, has a goal of being undisputed champion, as he is moments away from recapturing a world title belt, the IBF version.
It's also Zolt Erdade out there with the WBO title. We saw WBC version.
And of course, no discussion of the light heavyweight division could be complete without the name Bernard Hopkins as
Absolutely, who's defending his version of the title against Joe Calzaghe. And that, of course, will be an intriguing and interesting matchup. So there's names in this light heavyweight division.
And a victory here would erase some of that, sour taste of that forgettable loss to Bernard Hopkins for Antonio Tarver.
The left hand for Antonio Tarver, as always, the most important weapon in his victory, and he delivered it in a number of different ways. The uppercut was very, very important for him. He threw it throughout this fight, and along with the straight lefts, it was a tremendous weapon. And the irony of that is that not one time did his opponent Clinton Woods throw an uppercut. Instead, it was Tarver landing that punch repeatedly throughout this match. And if you'd have told me before this match the only uppercuts are going to be thrown by Tarver, I'd have said you're crazy.
So Antonio Tarver continues to enjoy the moment, even though the official announcement hasn't been made as of yet. Talking to people in the crowd, blowing kisses, and receiving the love here in his hometown of Tampa, draped in the American flag. And they are taking their merry time. And we'll remind you again about the text message, SHOTV or 74688. Who impressed you the most tonight? For Chad Dawson, text 1. For Glenn Johnson, text 2. For Antonio Tarver, text 3. And for Clinton Woods, text 4. Standard text messaging rates apply. We're set for the decision. Let's get it up to Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Steve Marshall, scores the bout 116 to 112. Judge John Rupert sees it 117 to 111. And judge at ringside, Howard Foster scores about 119 to 109. All three in favor of the winner. He is now the IBF and IBO light heavyweight champion, Antonio the Magic Man Tarver.
Well, a bit of a variety of numbers there, but Antonio Tarver gets what he wants, a world championship belt again. So, will we finally see Tarver versus Dawson?
They seem to have set the stage for it with these wins, and now the machinations of boxing business and boxing hierarchy take center stage.
And let's get it up into the ring, and Karen Bryant.
Very much, Steve. Antonio, congratulations to you. Did you get out there and fight the fight you planned on tonight?
Yeah. I mean, the guy came to fight. Very credible, durable champion. That's why he held the belt for over 2 years, 3 years. And I needed this win tonight. I'm surprised that I was finally able to gut out a tough decision. And I think the judges had it fairly.
And you think you were gutting it out. I mean, is that the thing? Did it go longer than you thought? Did you feel strong at the end? I mean, because obviously, at your advancing age, I'm going to say, that's a concern.
It's not a concern of mine. I finished strong. I was in great shape, great condition. I just want to congratulate Clinton for coming over here, being man enough to put his belt on the line against myself. And you know, that's what it's all about. Champions fighting champions. So I'm looking for the other belt holders.
All right. Well, your left hand seemed to be an effective tool tonight.
It's always been an effective tool when I've been in condition and shape, you know, and I was active. I don't know what was my average of punches per round, but I came out and did what I wanted to do. I was in great shape. I can take a punch in case anybody had doubt, and I can give a punch. Clinton's a tough, gritty guy, got a chin of an iron, and we tested tonight. I think we heard a couple times, but he was able to last, and that's what it's all about.
All right, great. If you can hang tight for just a second. Clinton, what do you think happened to you tonight? I mean, you definitely said that you thought going into this Antonio was the better technician, but you thought that you would still be able to win your fight.
Yeah, I did. I thought I'd be able to tough it out, but listen, I fought the best light heavyweight in the world. He's proved it. I'm just a skinny boy from Sheffield. I never dreamt of things like this.
I paid a lot of money tonight, so congratulations.
This is a dream come true for me. But all credit to Tarver. Did a fantastic job. What's done to my lip? No, congratulations to him. I don't know what I'm going to do now, but I'm happy with my career. I never expected the things what I've won. Like I say, Tarver is the new champion.
All right, well, your humility, I've been told by your fans, is what attracts them to you. They've always thought that you're a very grounded guy and that you seem to be staying that way. But are you feeling truly that you might stop?
I don't know. Like I say, I never dreamt of being a world champion. I've been world champion. I've won everything I've ever dreamed of. I don't know if it's time. I'll go back home, talk to my wife, play with my kids, have a good time. I don't know whether. Tarver's 39. Yeah. I'm 35. Maybe I've got a few years left.
I tell you what, you guys definitely seem to be more cordial with each other now after the fight. Is that the case?
I mean, that's business. This is a competition. May the best man win. I felt great going in. I'm gonna express myself. He felt great coming in. He expressed himself. That's why boxing is the #1 entertaining sport today. And as long as we have great champions like Clinton Woods, this sport is alive and thriving, baby.
Now, you also told me that you thought it was good for the division that Chad Dawson would win. You know, that was what you told me yesterday. He turned out to win. Do you want to fight him? What do you think about that now?
Chad Dawson be easy pickings right now because he's not the same fighter he was the day before tonight. He's a wounded duck. Chad, if you want it, come and get it, baby. You next.
Well, because, you know, Antonio, some people would argue that he learned a lot tonight by getting hit, getting hurt, and that he may come back stronger.
He got hit by Glenn Johnson. He didn't get hit by Antonio Tarver. That's the difference, baby.
All right, I understand that. So who do you think you would like next, though? Is that where you'd want to go next,
man.
Dawson?
We can do it. We can come right back here to the Sunshine State, Tampa, Florida, baby. AT Entertainment doing big things. We coming right back, baby. Believe that.
All right, well, congratulations to you, Antonio, and congratulations to you as well, Clinton. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Karen, thanks very much. You're looking at the new IBF light heavyweight champion. New and former IBF light heavyweight champion, Antonio Tarver. Let's take a look at the scoring, see how it went for Tarver and Woods. First, the official judges' scorecards. One guy had it by 10, one by 6, and the other by 4.
Clearly, Tarver controlling this fight totally.
And the panel of press row judges, one had it by 10, one had it by 2, and the other by 1. How about that, Al?
Well, you know, I think Antonio Tarver won the majority of these rounds. There's no question about that.
So not a controversial